Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. Welcome you to today's Morning Spring, your daily morning routine breakfast program where you get to be enlightened more and informed about very important information, very useful to our decision making. And the reason why we do that is for us to have a better and a working society, by extension, a working nation, the kind that we are proud of. That's what we do here by having very frank and deep conversations about issues of public importance. And of course, Femi is my name. I welcome you to today. It's going to be very, very deep and, engaging, by the way, as usual, but beyond the usual. That's what you're going to get in today. Again, of course, Evelyn is here. Good morning.
Good morning, Femi. How do you do today?
How do you do?
I'm doing so great. 27th of February, a beautiful day indeed, and we are grateful to God for the gift of life. Right. Welcome on board to another edition of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. Welcome you especially to today's edition.
Yeah, and talking about February 27th, I don't know, this day, the moment you mentioned the date, it rang a bell. I will be able to fix it, like something or someone's birthday or thereabouts.
Yeah, my mom's birthday today.
Today?
Yes.
You can see I'm not too far from the spirit, by the way, but I think closely too. I will get to remember before the end of the program. But the last 24 hours has been quite eventful, especially in Abuja, at the Villa, to be precise. What happens at the Federal Executive Council, and a number of things were ratified. Chief among them is the 12-year-old Steve Orosanye report. That was that got efforts, intuitions, contributions of the people, and there was a committee then led by the former head of service, Steve Orosanye, put together a very brilliant one, talking about a report of revolutionizing the public sector, governance, act of governance, cost of governance, and the people that run governance in Nigeria. And by the way, the report was submitted to Goodluck Jonathan when he was there, and then passed over to President Muhammadu Buhari. And now the person that succeeds them, talking about President Idowu, through the Federal Executive Council, has given that report a go-ahead to say, okay, maybe after 12 years of that report gathering dust, let's get it working. Let's look into it.
Yes, 12 years after, Femi, and there definitely will be questions as to if that particular report at the time is still, I don't want to use the word valuable, but is still relevant at this time. So definitely, I hope the federal government and the committee that will be set up to actually look into this will be able to work it out to the to the realities we have on ground
that's right.
at this time.
Reality, right?
Yes, and of course we have agencies that will be merged, agencies that will be scrapped. And we definitely need cost of governance to be reduced at this time, because people have always called for the cost of reduction in the cost of governance, saying that we fund the government, the expenditure of the government is so high and it needs to be reduced. So it's a good way to go. It's a good way to go. A lot of people have been commending President Bola Tinubu, but then there are still talks in some quarters as to probably it's just to give the people what they want at this time, based off of the protest that is coming up. President Tinubu has this. It has this way of always coming to the people the eve before something big is about to happen in the country. Talk about industrial strike or a protest. So there are people in some quarters saying probably the president is just doing this just to fulfill all righteousness and to get people talking about him, saying he's doing the right thing. But whatever it is, it's a right step in the right direction, and we hope that the government will actually pull it through, not just talking alone.
Right. By the way, there are proofs that there was, kind of attempt by previous government to implement these.
Yeah.
Well, and Governor Jonathan gave it a nod at a time. Nothing significant happened. Same thing as President Buhari giving it a nod. In fact, well, you get the details of these and more in our program. And by the way, there were some ratifications of some construction projects, being given the go-ahead to say, let's go and start these things by the Federal Executive Council. And by the way, today is 27th, and this is the first of the two-day strike called by the NLC, in which there will be different calls from different quarters to say, guys, please slow down. The DSIs, the intelligence community are saying this could be bad. People who are hijacking based on the mood of the nation, people who possibly are angry and upset could use the opportunity to vent their anger. How some people can be destructive, because these are the issues. Let's just say it. You can't be protesting against government policy and then you are destroying government's infrastructure. I'm not sure that goes together. It's just sentimental and thoughtless. I must put it there. I'm sorry if I sound harsh. For you to say the government are not providing enough roads, by the way, your transformer is not good, the barricade, or, in between the roads are not well done, we don't have enough, and the police stations and public infrastructures, and because you want to go on, public protest, then you are venting your anger on those things that you are saying is not enough.
Yeah.
When you burn tires on the road, the asphalt are stretched. After a couple of months or years, then you begin to observe cracks and holes, and you still blame the government. Protest all you want, all you like, is within your right, but please don't destroy public infrastructures, and please don't attack people. That's my take on that, Evelyn, because the NLC are saying they're going to go ahead. Wait to see.
And of course, we heard the president of the TUC Trade Union Congress yesterday saying that they will not be a part of this particular protest. But then the NLC, I'm sure if Joe Ajaero says he will not go ahead with this protest, there will be insult and abuses from all quarters.
You guys don't have the,
definitely, they will see him as a leader, because this is not the first time that Joe Ajaero will set up or announce for probably a protest or an industrial strike and industrial action rather, and he will pull out. So I'm sure he would not. We really want to keep his name and also, say that I am a leader. When I talk, I mean what I say. So I'm sure he would not want to pull out at this time.
But Evelyn, talking about the workability of those things, is this a responsibility of the police to provide protection, right? Which I think there were insinuations in some quarters that, yes, the police will do all they can do to protect them, but there is that possibility. People are angry, people are upset. Many persons want to vent. Yeah. Really. And will these not provide opportunity for some persons that might not even be part of the organized labor to, vent and go overboard, especially with this protest?
I do not think so. I believe if the police and other security agencies can actually provide security, adequate security.
Are they able to do that?
They should be able to do that.
If every state capital would do that, if every town
they should be able to do that, Femi, because we usually have elections and we have security agencies, in most of these polling units. So they should be able to do that. It's not like we're going to be having protests in every local government.
But the stories that come out from those polling units you talk about.
I still believe that the police, for this kind of protest, they won't be overstretched, so definitely they should be able to provide security for people, because it is their right, it is their fundamental human right.
I agree.
And so far they have announced, they have also contacted the police. They should be provided with adequate security so that anybody will not hijack this protest and, turn into chaos or what we do not want.
That's what we can afford right now. That's right. Speaking to these and more, that will be after this break. But firstly, we'll go to the papers. And of course, it's the money spring. Please do well to follow us on all our social media platforms, on X, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Of course, you have the address, on your screen right now. And of course, on our YouTube channel. Today, I think I'm using many, of course. And by the way, of course, we'll go for this break again. We'll be back.
Welcome back. It is the newspaper review right here, and we will be starting this morning, to take us through what we have, reporting, stories all across the country and beyond. We'll be taking through from the Punch newspaper this morning. The Punch newspaper, 12 years after, Tinubu adopts Ohiolei report, merges agencies. Tinubu orders SGF panel to implement mergers in 12 weeks. Minister rules out job losses. And, that was the fears of some people talking about when this these agencies are matched or subsumed, what happens to hierarchy? Some people might actually lose their jobs. Some people might be paid off. But, of course, Minister under the Tinubu administration has said that there wouldn't be such. And another rider here in that particular story, NDPHC, Diaspora Commission, 2 others moved to ministries, PTAD, abolished. And you have the details of that Ohiolei report submitted in 2012, and 12 years after, it's getting implementation. 541 parastatals, commissions and agencies of federal government. Key recommendations are 263 agencies to be slashed to 161, 52 to be merged, 14 to be downgraded to departments in ministries, and federal government may save 241 billion naira if report is duly implemented. That's a lot of money. And Savicam becomes BPSR department, 38 agencies to be scrapped, mergers to be concluded in 12 weeks, and Tinubu orders 29 agencies merged into 15. NACA plus NCDC, NEMA plus NCRMIA, ICRC plus BPE, NIPC plus NEPC, FRCN plus VON, and Army Varsity plus the NDA, amongst others. And PTAD to be abolished. Away from that, SANS lists expectations as Supreme Court justices rise to 21. Now we have a full bench at the Supreme Court. Customs suspend right sale after 7 die in stampede. 7 persons lost their lives there while trying to get food. And someone will say, we are not even in Gaza, where people are struggling for grains, people are struggling for rice. So how come we found ourselves here where people losing their lives just to get food? CBN sells over $300 million to banks as Naira gains. And top strip, police deploy anti-riot squad as NLC holds protest today. Ogun, Kogi, Taraba governors felicitate Punch at 50. And that's all from the Punch newspaper.
All right, The Guardian is next. The Guardian newspaper, all right, and it has something similar to what Evelyn just reeled out right now. Lean administration over bloated cabinet. Tinubu okays Ohiolei report. Merger of MDAs. And of course, you have some key men there from their pictures, from President Tinubu to former President Goodluck Jonathan, the man who headed that committee, former head of service, Steve Ohiolei, and of course the SGF of the Federation right now, George Akume, former Benue governor. Moving on, Niger border still short despite ECOWAS lifting sanctions. Newspage 3 has start hardship. Federal government labor in emergency talks over planned nationwide protest. By the way, maybe some will say too late, but then it's an ongoing conversation. We wait to see next line of action, possibly the next few minutes or few hours, what the NLC will really be doing. Constitution amendment, reps prioritizes state police, women in governance, others. I think it has been started. And as far as the House of Reps is concerned, that committee is being headed by Benjamin Kalu. Wait to see the next line of action for that committee seeking to amend some key areas of our Constitution. Moving on, ex-permanent secretaries plan colloquium to boost public service. Honor Asiodu. News page 5. Federal government okays social security payment to vulnerable families and graduates. Really, what form will this take? Many persons will easily say, we have been here before. What's the accountability? Who benefited at that time? Now they want to go that same route again.
And to think that this particular cash transfer is actually under probe. We knew what happened with the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. So what is going to happen to that particular investigation with Minister or former Minister now, Betta Edu, if the federal government still okays.
Even with Sadia Faruku.
Exactly. So we do not know what this particular payment will take, and but then
and which office will coordinate
this? Right. I want to believe it will be the Minister of Finance and coordinating Minister of the Economy. Right. Wale Edu.
Impending strike, federal government ASU in endless tango over unfulfilled promises. Again, NLC on one side, Labour on another side, ASU, all of them beaming, threat at the neck of the federal government. Quite a big job for whoever it's this country at any time, especially at this time. Now, Nigeria reaping the benefit of reform. I think these 3.46%, we read it out yesterday, by the way. And is from, I think, there is a tag to that, Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation. 3.46% year-on-year GDP growth in Q4 2023. Capital importation into Nigeria up 66%. Petrol importation is now down 50%. January 2024, Nigeria Stock Exchange ASI crosses 100,000 mark, its highest ever. And oil production has risen from 1.2 to in Q2 of 2023 to 1.55 million barrels per day in Q4 2023. That'll be all from The Guardian.
All right, from The Guardian, we'll make it through to the Nigerian Tribune for today. Nigerian Tribune newspaper for today, alongside a report, FEC okays full implementation 12 years after. To merge agencies, departments, least affected agencies, staff of affected agencies won't lose jobs. Committee get 12 weeks to perfect legal framework restructuring. FG to pay unemployment benefits to youth. Set up customer credit program. A lot going on there by the federal government. Away from that, joint military police team rescue 16 kidnapped victims in Kogi. CJN swears in 11 new Supreme Court justices. Customs suspend rice sale over stampede. We oppose call on Yoruba not to protest against Tinubu's IMF policies, says Femi. And CSOs protest over high cost of living in Lagos, Edo, Osun. Maritime workers to join NLC protest as Labour says no going back. Police put personnel on alert nationwide. Top strip, Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning, 30 billion naira to governors. Akpabio recants, apologizes. Femi, you'd remember that particular story where the Senate President on the floor of the Senate said 30 billion naira has been, released for state governors to cushion the effect of hardship, and we saw governors coming out to debunk such report. And this is Senate President making a U-turn, apologizing for what he said. All right, and still on Nigerian Tribune.
Interesting.
FEC okays 1 trillion naira for phase 1 Lagos Port Harcourt Calabar Coastal Road, and that's the march on Nigerian Tribune this morning.
All right, quite an interesting one. That many persons will easily say, but he has apologized. Yeah. There are some, well, fine, but there are some things that should never have happened in the first place. You can't be reckless, holding such an exalted, And it speaks to the value of their minds. Not that anybody cannot make a mistake or make a slip. There are some things that are not slip. You're throwing governance under threat. You're almost destabilizing the nation. It's as simple as that. Imagine that came from a Peter Obi,
yes,
or an Atiku Abubakar, or Yele Sowore. You will see how these guys in power will threaten everything possible. They might even slam a libel on him to say, why are you misleading the public? Why are you making statements that are capable of inciting violence? And he has just said that, you know, and he has apologized and recanted.
Admitted of wrong. I mean, he has admitted that he's wrong.
I would have loved to see, I will find that story. I would like to see him apologize, do that apology, and in the manner that he did it. Because
on the floor of the Senate.
But Noah Pabio, for who he is, he could have just said that as a joke. He's that kind of a person, you know. But moving on, Vanguard is next. Vanguard newspaper. And of course, hardship ahead, NLC rally, protest, Rock, Edo, Lagos, Oshun, and with quick ones here, fix economy or resign, Edo CSOs tell Tinubu, we will defend protesters nationwide, police headquarters, nice one, places men on red alert nationwide, warns imposters against hijack, CSOs ask members, Nigerians, to join NLC protest. All right, some pictures there of inauguration of Light Up Nigeria project. You have some men them, you know, the way they say, some men. That's the vice president and some governors of the Southeast. Yeah. There with him, Peter Mba, Nwifuru, Soludo, and Hope Uzodinma there at the Light Up Nigeria project inauguration. And of course, another picture is there, enhancing maritime security. Former Osun State Governor, the Minister of Blue Economy and Marina Blue Economy, Adegboyega Itola, and the Managing Director, Nigerian Port Authority, Mohammed Bello Koko, joined the commissioner of newly acquired security patrol boats by the NPA in Lagos. That's one ministry that many persons are expecting. It's a novel one, by the way, new one. But many persons are expectant. They need to see the policy direction. Something needs to happen, you know, beyond the rhetorics of just commissioning of some vehicles or, you know, security patrol boats, which is actually a good one. To Edo State, Idahosa's men petitioned Ganduje, wants Uzodima's report upheld. Interesting one here. And of course, TUC advises federal government to allow importation of food items. Top Street, political risk, regulatory concerns threaten infrastructure funds. Tinubu reduces 263 MDAs to 161 as FEC adopts Orosani's report. Now, if it's a full report that will be adopted, or I mean, full recommendation of that report, or some partial, because now when we talk about MDAs in Nigeria, there are almost 1,000, not just these 263, but maybe it will be done bit by bit. We get to know Nigeria will work if Southeast works optimally. Shetima, that's quite a speech. When I saw that yesterday, quite patronizing, quite political, but quite strong as well. To say, you guys, it just shows that the nation value you people. If your work in Nigeria will work, quite a decent one, by the way. Needed one, I must say. Yeah. Light Up Nigeria project will support Southeast industrialization, says Mba. And by the way, that's a good one. Especially if regions, Evelyn, if regions can take these light and power thing, maybe, yeah, I think they can harness their strength. The governors of the South-South, governors of the Southeast, now that we are even having development commissions all over the place. Yeah. There is Niger Delta Development Commission. There is Northeast Development Commission. I'm getting to know there will be South, some persons are saying there should be Southeast Development Commissions. Let all regions, Kuku, have their development commissions, and maybe they can harness their strength.
I mean, that's the reason why the electricity generation was actually, brought from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, so that governors, state governors, regionally, you can take advantage of this. And this is the way to go, really.
Hope it will be done, and there will not be too many bottlenecks, because that's another thing in Nigeria. You want to go and venture into a particular area, and then there are many bottlenecks. We hope, things will be done rightly. That will be all. By the way, these wouldn't be all. There is Mr. and Mrs., anger there. This is coming from Mr. or a Mr. Most of your friends back their, back their dislike, for obesity in men, but you share the different opinion. Okay, most of your friends, display their dislike maybe for obese men in men, but you share the different opinion. Why? And the lady answers, looking at you, it gives me hope that you are going to become a rich man one day, because
is it by size now?
That means rich men are the ones having polluted.
Is it by size now?
That means somebody close that I know have a chance of becoming a very rich person. That's a nice place to live in, by the way. Yeah. We'll go on this break, and when we'll come back to speak to electoral reforms and what we need at this time. The Inec, we spoke on this matter yesterday by speaking to somebody from the commission who was, and is rather, the resident electoral commissioner for Osun State, Dr. Agboke. But this morning we are going to be speaking with people, especially that have been on the field when it comes to election management and election process in Nigeria through, over the years, to speak on these electoral reforms, the gains, if actually there are any, made from the last general elections, as recorded by Inec in their recently released report. It's going to be a very nice one. That will be the first leg of the conversation. Please stay with us. All right, you're welcome back. And the conversation, as I said, this first leg, the conversation today will be in two legs. But this first one is about electoral reforms and gains, as I said earlier, made from the last election cycle, the general elections that were held, that was held in 2023, subsequent off-season election, coming the process that was guided by the Electoral Amendment Bill of 2022. And now, a few days ago, Inec, that's the umpire, started with conducting elections in Nigeria, by our constitution, released its own report a year after, and it was quite a voluminous one, 526 pages, if I'm not mistaken, or thereabout. They stated the processes pre-election, during election, and post-election. And at the end of the day, many persons, expectedly are talking on the matter. And conclusively, they gave themselves a pass mark, not just a pass. They said it was one of the best, if not the best. These were the words of Inec, of elections that have been conducted in Nigeria. Yes, few itches here and there, but they said that wouldn't water down the success, huge success, gains made, by, pushing on our democracy and in the manner in which our elections are being conducted. That's coming from Inec. But to speak further on this matter is someone who has been part of that process and management of elections over the years, in and outside of the country, to give us a sense of what he thinks about that report and, of course, the reality of if actually there were gains made in the manner in which we have been conducting our elections, using the 2023 election as a template. We have been joined via Zoom this morning by Bukola Idowu, who is the head, at Kimpact Development Initiative, a body that has been doing so many things. But we are sticking with elections this morning. Mr. Idowu, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this.
Thank you.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to have you again. And you just heard me. Inec has come out with his report, gave themselves a pass mark, as they will say proverbially, here, this part of the country, many waters has passed under the bridge. You observed that election. You and your team have been part of the elections over the years, 2023 inclusive, subsequent elections notwithstanding. What would be your take on everything the Inec had said they have done, and they have done well?
Well, don't forget that the report was an assessment done internally by Inec. So Inec did that assessment. They met with the election officers. They met with regs. They met with different stakeholders within Inec, and then assess what they have done, and they came out with that report. So it's difficult to fault what they said. It's difficult to say, oh, they are not right, because in their own assessment, they've given themselves pass mark. And whether that is true is now another thing, because it's easy to come up with your own assessment and then you said, oh, I have done well. It's just like the proverbial lizard after jumping down and nod its head and said, look, oh, if you guys don't praise me, I will praise myself. And for me, that is what I have seen, because it's basically an Inec report. They conducted that election and they rated themselves and they said, oh, they have done well. Now, but for me to actually say whether you have done well or not has to be, we have to actually look at an independent report or an independent audit of that election, which INEC did not agree to, because I know some of us were really requesting for that, to say, look, allow an independent audit to this the conduct of 2023 election, which they did not allow. So why they said they have done well, now the reality on ground is also what we should interrogate further vis-a-vis the report they release. But don't forget, it's what, like I said, is their own assessment, and they have the right to say, this is how the perspective we are looking at it from, and this is how we've seen it, and we have done well. But the citizen and other actors and other reality on ground, we now need to place it side by side with what they said, and to be actually say, yeah, whether you did well or not.
All right, quick one there. You talked about there have been calls, including from yourself, to say, let's have an independent report. But there have been reports, by the way, from EU, from ECOWAS, from the NBA, from Kimpact, from your end as well. And so, if you will just oppose, does it have a nexus with what INEC has in his own report? Or is it sharp departure?
So the reports from observers, international and domestic observers from KDI, from us and everybody, cannot be used to, it is not the report, that it is not similar to what INEC released. So we need to first of all differentiate that, because observers on the election, they went on the field and observed the election. And then they gave their report and said, this is what we've seen on the feed. Now, the report INEC release is not limited to the feed. It includes pre-election, it includes election day, and it includes post-election. Don't forget, most of the observer reports just centers on election day. In fact, for some, it just centers on February 25th, the presidential election. So you may not use that to join. And that was why some of us were saying, look, you need to have an independent assessment of the whole exercise. Election is a process which is which is election day and which is post-election. Yeah. So that is what we were calling for. So that cannot actually be we can't use the Observer Election Day report to pitch it side by side with what INEC has just released. Don't forget, INEC released everything, including the number of staff they use, including where they deployed, including logistics. It includes report from 36 states, including security reports and the rest. So what they have done is an holistic and looking at the election even from before the election day. Now, most observers' election look at election day. So now, because election organizations were not allowed, because and I give an example. In 2015, after Jegas conducted that election, there was an independent audit of that election. I remember Professor Adele Dinodu was the leader of the team that assessed that election independently. So you bring in, even in some instances, they have some international organization to also join that team to look at it in an unbiased manner, in a neutral manner, because these are the people that have no stake. They are not INEC staff. They are not being paid by the commission, and they produce a report. Right. So that was what we are even saying should repeat itself this time around. However, it is also good. It is also good that they release the report, because it is better than we don't. I mean, they just keep mum and we don't have anything at all. Right. But it's good to say, look, this is what they have assessed, and we can also still assess them based on their own report. Right. And that is where some of us stand. We are now looking at their report to also assess them based on the report they have also released themselves.
All right, Mr. Idowu, assessing the INEC's report that was released recently, as you have mentioned, one of the most controversial issue was the presidential election, and also you have been able to establish that most reports, especially from observers, was were focused on the February 25th election in 2023. Now, talk about the explanation given by INEC as to what happened on February 25th, especially for the presidential election. Please permit me to read what they actually wrote here in their report. It's on 161, page 161. It says, consequently, just taking a part, while the uploads for the NAS election succeeded as the application was able to identify the respective state and build the folder hierarchy for the result organization process for the election, attempts to upload the presidential election result sheet, which does not belong to or mapped to any state on the database, failed. Instead, it returned a HTTP server error response. This failure is attributable to the inability of the application to create and build a folder structure to organize the uploaded images of the results sheet of the presidential election. I'm just going to take that portion. Of course, there are other explanations there as to how it was resolved and how they were able to upload later that night. Do you buy this narrative from INEC? Do you think they were sincere enough as to the explanation given, talking about what happened on the 25th of February 2023?
That may not give us accurate picture of what happened on the election day. As compared, like they have just said, and you've rightly read that out. That may not, and I repeat, that may not be the accurate picture. For you to say, oh, it's giving the HTTP error, you couldn't load. Two things are happening here. Now, I remember I was at the situation room, and we've hired a lot of volunteers to work on that election, like also some other sister organization who have been able to, who want to also look into the election. I remember then that a sister organization, Younger Africa, wanted to look into the, they call it ERAD, which is like looking at the IREF itself, and then there are observers who are monitoring what they were loading on the IREF. So for us, we've moved out of the election day, and then we want to go into the results management to look at what was being uploaded, and in fact, and begin to tabulate it. Now, this is where I'm going. The challenge we had for the first close to like about 3,000 results that were uploaded on the IREF, one, that most of them were blurred. Most of them were so blurry that you could not read what was written there. So, and what that suggests that it was deliberate. It was deliberately blurred. So it was not, and if you put it that with that, it was not a case of that it was deliberate. I mean, it was not a case of an error that you cannot upload. So even if you cannot upload some, those you uploaded were so blurred that people cannot read it. Don't forget, if you follow if you follow the process of the tribunal, at the court of appeal, even to the Supreme Court, this was part of the issues that some of those things uploaded were blurred, and you could not actually read it. Now, and as I'm talking to you, some of them are no longer blurred. You know, so what it means on the IREF, they were no longer blurred, and they've had that sharper outlook now. That is number one. Number two, you find adult staff complaining that the password given to them were not correct, and they were unable to upload with it. So they were not even talking about technical issue. They were talking about, look, we could not even upload on this particular IREF. So for me, I think that does not really give accurate picture of what happened on that day. Don't forget, the then former National Commissioner Festus Okoye came up with, released a statement and said, look, they are having a technical glitch, which was a blanket statement and which was not explained throughout. So what happened? And this is the question we need to ask ourselves. So why is it that the IREF was able to work for the National Assembly election taking place the same day with the same beavers? And that is one thing you need to know. Beavers for the National Assembly was not different. It's the same beavers that will accredit you, and then you will go and vote. It's the same beavers you use to upload National Assembly, and it went through. And then the presidential election did not, the presidential results were unable to be uploaded. Probably they had, if they had an attack on that, and people were trying to manipulate it, is another conversation they have even said. But to just say, look, it was just an error. No. I mean, Nigeria, and that strategy today, Nigerians did not buy that narrative. So, and if you look at that, the reactions of Nigerians and some of us observers with the narrative they put out in page 161 was not really acceptable by us. However, the reason why people are not even pushing more was even because the court at the end of the day came and said, look, whether they upload on IREF and they did not upload on IREF, it has nothing to do with the integrity of the election. And that is why people did not really push. But what that has done is that it has affected the integrity of Inec, and that is why the trust level on Inec in subsequent election came down. And that was, as we've seen that in Bayelsa, Igbo, and Kogi governorship election. And that is the challenge we have with INEC. But in terms of, in that report, we also could not see what they have done in subsequent election to rectify that, and what they have been doing now to rectify that. It just keep quiet, and that is why I said this is a danger of a single narrative of you assessing yourself, because there is tendency of seeing things from your own perspective and then grading yourself. But with that position, that is not the accurate picture of what happened on the election day.
All right, Mr. Idowu, you know, we had the resident electoral commissioner for Osun State yesterday on the show, and we actually talked about this, and he mentioned that the explanation given by Inec suffices. And we asked if Inec is ready to apologize to Nigerians for the glitch, because they promised Nigerians that this was going to happen and they didn't deliver. So will Inec apologize to the people? And it said categorically here that the explanation is enough. There's no reason to apologize. But speaking to you, with what went down that day, a lot of people were hopeful, especially for the presidential election. Do you think Inec owes Nigerians rather, apology for what happened on the 25th? Yes, it was a technical glitch, as they said, but they should be able to apologize to the citizens and say, you know we promised you that this was going to be uploaded in real time, but this and this happened, and we apologize for that.
So, Evelyn, let me say this. Just imagine, Western Spring TV is an institution, a TV station. And then while we are having this conversation, let's just assume that there's a blackout, and then probably power cuts. Now, if you return back to, if you're able to work around that technical issue, and then you return back on here, what is the first thing you will say? Most times you say, oh, we apologize for that break in transmission.
Yeah.
And that is what should be the response of an institution that values the people, that values that what they are doing has to do with the life of the people. What they are doing, in fact, that they are the midwife between political party and the citizen to produce leaders for the country. And whatever they do will affect the country for the next 4 years before another election comes in, because whatever they do can actually mean that, look, we either have the right person on that seat as the federal, as the commander-in-chief, or not. And this is what they need to really understand this. Now, so I use Western Spring TV as an example because you are even a private entity. You did not even owe us any explanation. You understand? Nobody is contributing money for you. Taxpayer money were not used to pay your salary, to sustain your, you look for the capital yourself, yet you still apologize. So why on earth with a government institution not apologize? And this is where I differ.
Apology, Mr. Idowu, you don't think the apology will mean admittal of wrong?
That is exactly what they don't want to do, because they know that if they apologize, it will mean they agree that they accept that the fault is also from them. What they have been doing now is still keep pushing the responsibility to third party, to network issue, to technological glitch. They did not accept, they have not been able to accept that they have a fault here. And like your own in your own station, probably you have maybe 1, 2, 3 networks you are using. In case one is down, you switch to this, including power. We have organizations who make backup generating power, to say, look, if this one is down, we switch to this. Why on earth we Inec have a single gateway for an election that you expect close to 93 million people? Even if you are not expecting 93 million, we have over 60 million people who have collected their PVC. These are the people you expect to come and work. Have you considered the traffic that is going to be on this? If 60 million, also consider that you have over 1,176 polling units, and let's assume election.
All right. We might probably have to, reconnect with Mr. Idowu. Talking about technical glitch, we are just experiencing one here now.
By the way, and we apologize.
We apologize.
Even though this one's not from Western Spring, but then our service providers might not be doing what is right. But we will connect so that we, conclude with him, by the way. And that's...
Can you hear me now?
All right, yes, we can hear you.
Please
Thank you. That's a technical glitch, by the way.
I apologize for the network glitch there, for that technical glitch.
Okay, all right.
But the truth of the matter is that Inec is pushing responsibility. They don't want to own the responsibility. And for me, I think it is historical. It is absolutely historical. And I give you an example. Anytime we have logistic problem, Inec will blame NURTW, for the logistic problem. Now, they will not own up that we selected them. And then we've done our due diligence, and I think maybe we failed in that area. So they look for somebody to blame. Number two, anytime we have issues around processes that did not study, that did not work well, they blame their ad hoc staff. Oh, they said the coppers we get, they are also Nigerians. Oh, they did not, that is the issue. That is the picture of our educational system. And I can tell you, it has always been historical with them. So for me, and I think it's a conversation we need to have. We need to have institutions that will value Nigerians. And then that is what, for me, if they apologize, it still will not take anything away from them. That, look, we are sorry, we thought this is going to work. We promised you this, but it did not work. And then we are going to take them serious next time. But with what they have done, they have just done this with absolute impunity. And don't forget that at the end of the day, what the chairman said to Nigerians is, or to the political party that complained, is go to court. And they have gone to court.
All right. Quickly, because we are pressed for time, let me ask you now, looking at the whole process, in hindsight, having a clear picture of what really transpired during those periods, and of course, the report has been given out by Inec right now. Our electoral system, our electoral management, there are many persons who said we made some improvement from 2003 to 2007 to 2015, and now even 2019 for 2023 came with so much hopes and by the way, expectations that many believed were dashed. Of course, many believe it was the best as well. But for the benefit of our democracy, will you say we evolved, democratically speaking, and the conduct of our elections in Nigeria? Maybe the glitches, the IRF situation is not enough to say we did make progress. What will be your assessment of either we have evolved and we are really moving, and again, more than 300 billion of naira of public funds was used? Will you say the whole process justified such a huge amount?
Well, it depends on the part aspect you are assessing, and I always try to not to assess the whole election and give a verdict, because if you do that, then if you go back to indices and data, then we find out that this could be wrong. And I give you an example. For instance, one of the ways you can also assess election, electoral integrity and the conduct of that election, is that you also look at the number of petitions that came up after every election. So now, in 2003, after the election, the total number of petitions that came up was within the range of 500. In 2007, it was 1,290, highest in the country after election. And don't forget, 2007 election was one Yar'Adua said it was not even okay, and set up or also a committee, Justice Ways Committee, to come up with a report on how to improve the election. Then fast forward to 2011, it came down to around 600 petitions. Then fast forward to 2015, it came down again to around 500. But when you go to 2019, then it went up to 800. Then you come to 2023. Now, we did the total number of petitions that came after this election we are talking about was 1,209, similar to 2007 in terms of petition. So if you look at that way, then you will find that this election, you won't say, hey, we totally moved. I mean, it's better. So it shows that there is a similar, who were not satisfied compared to that of 2007. Again, see, if you are saying we have moved, don't forget that this time around, this is the time, this time we have the lowest, and I say the lowest voter turnout, like about 26%. This is the first time that the from 1999 that won with like about 8 million votes. So what it means is that even if you look at it in terms of voter turnout, did we improve? And this is another challenge we have to look at. Right. Probably you look at the aspect of accreditation, we can say, yes, it improved. So we should not generalize this and say, give ourselves a pass mark. We should compartmentalize it and say, look, we did not do well here. For instance, how on earth are we going to be having lower voter turnout out of 93 million? Now, so these are the issues we should look at. But if you also look at it, you will see that, look, some aspects improved, while some aspects did not improve. But all, I mean, on the general note, I think we still have a long way to go.
All right, that's quite, summarizes the whole thing. Is a work in progress. The Executive Director for KDI, Kimpact Development Initiative, Mr. Bukola Idowu, thank you for your time and your take, and for the good work you and your team are doing. Thank you.
Thank you for having me this morning. Thank you.
We appreciate, and that will be that on the first leg. We'll take this quick break. When we'll come back, we'll be speaking to what happened and the latest we are hearing from the Federal Executive Council of Nigeria. Stay with us. Right, you're welcome back. I'm still talking about the project for Nigeria and the, betterment of having working on a nation that we are all proud of. That's what the conversation today, as every day, is about. Getting better, asking questions, and then seeing that we will have a nation that will be able to raise our hands in the Committee of Nations to say yes. I am Nigeria. Yesterday, at the Federal Executive Council meeting, we heard many decisions were taken, and chief among those decisions was the readiness, the showing of interest of the federal government, led by the President Bola Tinubu, to say the 12-year-old Steve Oronsaye report should be given a look, and the workability, and that report is essentially about cutting costs, having things being done properly, by people in government, structures of government, MDAs, some of them performing overlapping responsibilities. They have said, okay, maybe we should make some, scrap some, and that's what exactly the Federal Executive Council agreed on. By the way, we are even hearing sometimes like some subsumed. These are some of those things being said. Let me just give you a portion of what Bayo Ononuga, Special Assistant to the President on on information and strategy, what he said. The highlights of Federal Executive Council decisions on Monday, 26th of February. And, approval of construction, I would just leave that. And the council, in order to enhance efficiency in federal service and reduce the cost of governance, decided to implement the recommendations of the Steve Oronsaye panel on the restructuring and rationalization of federal agencies. And the implementation involved merging, subsuming, and scrapping agencies with similar functions. And he said the Oronsaye report was submitted in 2012 to the Jonathan administration. In 2014, The Jonathan government released a white paper on the report. The Buhari administration, after re-examining the white paper, also released a second white paper in August 2022, but did not implement the report. However, in the words of Bayo Onanuga, the Tinubu administration has decided to confront the monster of high governance caused by implementing elements, keyword, elements of the report. An 8-man committee has a 12-week deadline to ensure that the necessary legislative amendment and administrative restructuring needed to implement the reforms are effected in the efficient manner. And of course, he read out the people that made up that committee. And the key recommendations for implementation has to do with national salaries, income and wages commission to be subsumed, you know, and he gave it, it's quite a lot. Time won't permit us to have that this morning. To give us a sense of what is really happening and what we need to do better, especially the workability of this particular push of the federal government to implement elements, you know, of that particular report. Joining us is Bukola James. She is a research analyst with Budget Foundation, and she joins us via Zoom this morning. Good morning, Bukola. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. You heard it. I'm sure you've seen the news, and your organization, Budget, even have many things in that direction. What do you make of this decision of the Federal Executive Council to go this route, especially at this time?
Thank you very much. I'll start off by saying the Orosoya reports, as you said, was submitted in 2012, and in 2014, a committee was set up by the then President Jonathan, and in 2020, another committee, implementation committee, was set up by President Buhari. And down the line, you will see that the numbers of agencies has multiplied. It's more like nothing was done, and despite the recommendations in that report, they were unable to carry out the activities or the instructions that they planned to carry out. So now that President Tinubu has decided to take steps forward, it's a laudable step. Yeah. That he has decided to take, because considering the fact that he himself has created ministries. When he assumed power, he created ministries, and several months after, he is deciding to implement the reports. And this will show that he really wants to do something, and we would hope, and as citizens of Nigeria, we hope that it won't be just for cosmetics. It won't be. They will take a step forward. They would carry it out. And as the report contains, the intention of the report was to streamline operations. That is, reducing the cost of governance. There are so many agencies that are carrying out the same activities. Their mission are similar, and we have them in several numbers. So the intention of the report was to streamline these their activities, and also to address overlapping agencies, which causes duplication of functions. You know, the same agencies carrying out the same functions, and at the end of the day, the overhead costs is borne by the government, you know, because the government would take over the overhead costs, paying, servicing the MDs, servicing the directors, you know, and at the end of the day, it has an effect on the economy. So another intention of this report is to address redundancy. So many agencies, you go to some ministries, you see people hanging around, they'll say they work for the ministries, they work for the agencies, you know, and these reports, I would actually help eliminate redundancy. Right. So I'll say the government is doing a good one, and it would be a thing of immense greatness for the nation if it is eventually implemented. Thank you.
All right, Bukola, you just talked about the fact that the president actually created more ministries when he came on board. I mean, the highest since return to democracy, 48. And one will want to, ask about the sincerity of President Tinubu and his government, his administration, on the implementation of this Orosaya report. Yes, he has given 12 weeks as the timeline for the committee to look into this and for the implementation to take place. But then the sincerity, one would want to ask, if you want to cut the cost of governance, why would you go ahead to create more ministries? So a lot of people are really not sure if President Bola Tinubu is really sincere with this particular move.
Okay, thank you so much. When the president assumed power, he created ministries, and a few weeks ago, the president made a statement that the country is poor. And I want to say that in hindsight, I would want to assume that in hindsight, he has decided to cut down costs, hence addressing the poverty of the nation. Yeah. That he stated. If he stated that the country is poor, I'm sure he would want to address the poverty of the nation. And if the Orosaye's report is a way to go about it, let us hope that this is one of his means to addressing the poor state of the economy. Thank you.
Quite notable. But there is this document, and our producers will put it up now, especially from the organization budget, analysis of the Orosaye report. Let me just read it out quickly. Identify 541 parastatals, commissions and agencies of the government, federal agencies to be abolished, 38 federal agencies to be abolished, Public Complaints Commission, National Poverty Eradication Program, NAPEP, Utilities Charges Commission, National Economic Intelligence Committee, NESRIA to be scrapped and his enabling law repealed. Now, 14 agencies to be reversed, to departments in the federal ministry. And I see chief among that, I saw yesterday that NITCOM, Nigeria's Diaspora Commission, will be returned to the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Right? It should be a department under Foreign Affairs. And highlight Debt Management Office to become an extra ministerial department, Public Health Department to be merged as a department under the Center of Disease Control in the Federal Ministry of Health, National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, to be transferred to the Ministry of Communication and Technology. Now, reduction in the number of statutory agencies, the target is to have 263 to 161. 50 of the identified agencies have no enabling laws. That means they have been doing extracurricular activities and functions, by the standard of our laws. 52 institutions are to be merged. Now, NTA, FRCN, VON to be merged. That's in that initial report. But we learned yesterday that the FRCN, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, and the BON are to be merged. VON, rather, to be merged into what will be called Federal Broadcasting Corporation of Nigeria. The NCC, the NBC, to be unified into Communication Regulatory Authority, Code of Conduct Bureau, EFCC and ICPC merged into Anti-Corruption Commission, and finally 929 MDAs currently in the federal government budgeting structure. Mr. Bukola, that's quite much, 929 MDAs. Now, having all these facts and figures there, many persons are fearing for job loss. Okay, when these agencies are being merged right now, would people not lose their jobs? Talking about the workability now, some are even thinking when it comes to ranks, when somebody is a director in a particular office and his agency transferred to another agency, will he still be in the rank of being a director? Many persons are fearing for demotion. In a minute or two, let's look at the workability of this particular report, 929 MDAs. That's what we currently have.
I would say, thank you very much. I would say that we don't have the economy to absorb these people if the agencies are abolished. but we are having more of mergers than abolitions. So we are not, I'm sure the federal government would not just send them out. I hope the government would have a plan. Carrying out this policy would entail proper planning, would entail proper back-end considerations for these directors, for this staff of these agencies to be employed or to be taken care of. For better lack of, for want of a better word, I'll say compensation where necessary. You know, because the federal government would not want to just abolish these people and send them off. It is expected that it's either a total layoff or demotion or merger that might mean that two people one will have to step down for the other, you know. But the federal government should consider proper actions to be taken, not to just send these people out to the public. Nigeria already has a large number of unemployed people in the country, and it wouldn't be nice for the government to add to this number of people, you know. So it would, I would assume and I would hope as a citizen of Nigeria that the government would not just lay these people off permanently without compensations or without adequate payments that will suffice or that will be sufficient for their well-beings. That's what I have to say.
Amazing. We're pressed for time, but before we let you go, I'd just like to know how this will affect the 2024 budget, because these agencies probably, definitely would have been budgeted for in the 2024 budget. So I just want to get your impression on that, how this will actually affect the budget. Will the budget be recalled back, or what's going to happen?
Thank you so much. I would say that the plans for the federal government concerning the budget is not known yet. They've not come out to give us any statement concerning the budget, because the budget was recently approved, and these Orosai's reports coming up now is more like a pause. Maybe the federal government will decide to take a pause on the budget that was approved, or they will recall it. I would say we'll look forward to them giving us proper statements. But in a layman's term, or in a layman's opinion, I would say that the government should, in one way or the other, look into the budgets. If these agencies will be abolished or will be merged, then maybe they'll have to cut off the items that has been lined up in these MDAs, or they will have to do a proper rebudgeting from the MDAs, then present it again to the public. So it will be the federal government's decision to recall or to give a statement concerning it. Thank you.
Yeah, before I let you go, you are in charge of research and analysis at budget. Now, with the benefit of what you know, what you work on every day, and the posturing of this particular report that the federal government are saying, let's implement, you're saying is the right call. Is that what you're saying?
Okay, I'll start by saying this. I am not the head of research and advisory. I am an analyst. Okay. So this report is for the main aim of this report is for us to have a proper and efficient developing country, a country that is developing and that is developed and functioning. The aim of the reports is for us to have a proper civil service that functions, not having redundancies, not allowing prebendalism, whereby people will believe that they have entitlements to government revenues. So, in whatever is the good of the country is the priority. as long as it serves the people, as long as it boosts the economy, as long as people live in good health and they are secure and they can close their eyes at night and they are sure that the economy favors them as well as it favors others, the country in general, I'll say that is the priority. So if the government decides to use this report for the good of the people, I am in for it. Thank you.
All right, sincere appreciations to you, Ms. Bukola James, research analyst with Budget Foundation. Thank you so much for your time on the show. It has been an insightful one.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That's it, Femi. We can always only talk about these issues, speak to what the federal government is doing per time. And this Ohiolei report is one of them. 12 years after, we are bringing it back on board. And it's good that the federal government, the president rather, has given a 12-week timeline. That's 3 months for the committee to come up with something workable and the implementation of this report. And we hope that the state government also can take a cue from this, because we have state governments that have duplicity and multiplicity of agencies. Some are creating new agencies, and you're wondering for what?
Exactly.
So we
local
hope,
government.
Exactly. We hope that the state government, because it's not just only about the federal, that's why we need to also put more light on the subnationals, so that they can also do the right things. Some agencies and the state governments need to be merged. In fact, some need to be totally scrapped because they have really no value.
These are the issues, and trust us to stay on this matter. Anything that will bring us close to where we're supposed to be, by the way, and where we're supposed to be on the right path. That's what we will have been discussed here, and we'll ask the questions, either convenient or not. Femi Ojo is my name, and I'll see you tomorrow, God willing, for the midweek installment of the program. You could have a recap of this program on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. God bless Nigeria.
Stay tuned for Spring Trends coming right after this broadcast. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. Thank you for your time.